I fell in love with the house in Petersburg. I envisioned it as soon as I walked through it. I mean, it was just what I wanted. Then we found out about the water. I went from my dream house to my worst nightmare in 2 seconds. I can't even describe the feeling. Like, it did not feel like my house anymore. Like, I couldn't even stand to be in it. I'm scarred from water. I'm scarred. The kids being down at the bus stop, what are they breathing in? You know, how much of their blood level came from what they were breathing in while they were waiting for their school bus. How this was all happening and how it had happened for decades.
PFOA is part of a class of chemicals that have been used for decades. It's what makes Teflon slippery. It was manufactured by DuPont. It's very toxic. If it gets into the groundwater, it moves with lightning speed through the groundwater. And for most Americans, groundwater is their source of drinking water.
PFOA was used at manufacturing facilities in New York and Vermont for decades. In 2006, several manufacturers entered an agreement with the EPA to stop the use of PFOA by 2015. DuPont settled nearly $700 million in lawsuits because of PFOA leaks from its plant in Parkersburg, West Virginia. This resulted in DuPont assembling a group of scientists to determine whether any diseases could be linked to PFOA. This new group became known as the C8 Science Panel.
PFOA has been linked to a number of serious illnesses, most notably kidney cancer, testicular cancer, ulcerative colitis, thyroid disease, pregnancy-induced hypertension, and medically diagnosed high cholesterol. Saint-Gobain and Taconic Plastics are not currently using PFOA because it's not allowed to be used in the United States anymore. However, there is a toxic legacy here. Saint-Gobain and Taconic Plastics have been painfully slow in cleaning up their legacy of toxic pollution, and I'm afraid that the EPA is not holding them accountable.
In a statement to HuffPost, the EPA said it is supporting the state's efforts on PFOA-related issues, but didn't respond directly to the question of holding these companies accountable.
We prey on a lot of these smaller towns because, you know, they're blue-collar towns, so you can blame the illnesses on their, you know, their drinkers, their smokers, they don't live a clean lifestyle, and that's why they're all getting sick, rather than it's the chemicals that they're working with and that's getting into their water, into everything that they're doing with their gardens and their food. You know, it's kind of crazy. And I feel like they're pretty strategic that way. The village is roughly 3,500 people on the municipal water supply. I believe it's just over 7,000 in the town. Saint-Gobain is the biggest employer in the village. Both my parents have worked at Saint-Gobain for their entire careers. My dad got sick in 2010, and he had kidney cancer at that point in time, and he actually had his kidney out the same day my son was born. My dad didn't smoke or drink, and he was really healthy for about 1.5 years, and he went for one of his routine checkups, and it was back in his other kidney. And he passed away February 25th, 2013. I was on the phone with one of my friends. I know people always kind of joked around, saying, you know, maybe there's something in the water here. And so I'm like, all right, I started Googling around a little bit, and I just typed in Teflon and cancer. The C8 Science Panel from West Virginia popped up. The illness that pops up is kidney cancer.
The EPA has never established a drinking water standard for PFOA. From 2013 to 2016, the EPA tested all large public water systems in the country for PFOA, but Hoosick Falls was too small to be included. So Michael Hickey tested the water for himself. He sampled water throughout the town with a home testing kit and shared it with officials. He found that Hoosick Falls water supply contained 540 parts per trillion of PFOA. At the time, the EPA's advisory level was 400. The EPA eventually lowered it to 70 because of health concerns following Michael Hickey's test results. It was later determined that a safer limit would be closer to 11.
I first learned about the problem in early November 2015. I called the state health department and said, hey, I just heard about this potential problem in Hoosick Falls with PFOA in drinking water. Do you know about this? What's going on? And he said, oh yes, my staff has been working on this for over a year. We've been meeting with the company and the county health department, and we're trying to make an arrangement that people can get bottled water at the local supermarket. And we're out looking at different federal and state programs to see if someone could fund a carbon filter for this public water supply. And I said, wait. How long have you been meeting with the polluters? Oh, well over a year, maybe 15 months, maybe a little bit longer. And you haven't told the public that they're drinking contaminated water? Well, not yet. We're in negotiations. We're trying to line up their ability to get free bottled water at the supermarket. So I issued a press release advising residents in Hoosick Falls to stop drinking the water. It took about 10 to 12 months later to get the carbon filtration system installed, starting with the big one on the public water supply. And then the state fanned out and did wells. Virtually everyone is on carbon filtration now. And I think that's a good short-term move, but ultimately we want the residents of Hoosick Falls to have a new uncontaminated water supply. And there happens to be a few reservoirs nearby where this is practical.
There was no information. New York State Department of Health, they weren't there. Rensselaer County Department of Health, they weren't there to explain and to actually deliver information that would help somebody. They just wanted to be like, oh, carry on, not a big deal. When I'm looking to other states or other communities that have gone through it in the past to try to figure out what I need to do for my family.
Rensselaer County Department of Health told HuffPost it was determined Hoosick Falls officials would disseminate information about PFOA contamination to the public.
Should we be taking a shower? If so, how should we be taking that shower? Should I still be sitting in it for 45 minutes? No, actually, I should only be in it for 3.5 minutes with the window open. Then you go into like mama bear mode, like, oh my God, could there be something wrong with my children?
Emily Marpy's private well tested at 2,100 parts per trillion, which is 30 times above the EPA advisory level. In fact, Marpy and her family had some of the highest blood levels of PFOA in the region.
PFOA contamination was identified in Hoosick Falls, Petersburg, and then in southern Vermont in North Bennington. And the reaction from the state governments were night and day. In New York, the state health department sat on the information for over a year and didn't tell the public. In Vermont, once the testing was done and the water was known to be contaminated, the state of Vermont literally acted the same day. Vermont not only didn't want to be another Hoosick Falls, they didn't want to be another Flint.
In 2014, the New York State Department of Health analyzed results from the state's cancer registry and found 12 cases of kidney cancer. They did not find any other diseases linked to PFOA. But in 2018, Bennington College conducted its own health survey and discovered 31 cases of kidney cancer, 11 cases of testicular cancer, 35 cases of pregnancy-induced hypertension, 71 cases of ulcerative colitis, and 231 cases of thyroid disease.
But when I first found out I was pregnant, I was like devastated. I was like, wow, like I could have a baby born with birth defects. Even if I have this baby, I can't breastfeed it. I was diagnosed with thyroid disease that requires medication every day. It's a copay in order to get the medication, and it will be lifelong. It's the rest of my life. I told my kids to drink water, drink lots of water, drink milk. Maybe I should have let them have that soda. You know, I'd rather fix their teeth than worry about them getting kidney cancer or testicular cancer.
We're in a really bad spot when it comes to environmental protection in this country. The Hoosick Falls story is still not written. I think we're in chapter 3 of a 12-chapter book. Will we get the groundwater cleaned up? Will we get health monitoring? Will we get a new water supply? Will people be able to sell their homes if they want to retire out of the area? There is a fundamental problem in that our laws and our regulations are not strong enough to protect public health. So there will be other Hoosick Falls.
HuffPost reached out to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, Taconic Plastics, Saint-Gobain, and the New York State Department of Health, but were not granted any interviews or statements.